He thought the future would be secure, a spouse beside him. Children are checking in, a house filled with noise and warmth. But then, everything changed. Divorce at 65. Children are wrapped up in their own lives. A home that feels empty, not just quiet. No one told him this part. That growing old isn't just about retirement accounts and grandkids. It's about facing solitude with clarity. And here's the hard truth. Most men don't prepare until it's too late. In this video, we'll talk about the real reasons men end up alone and how to protect your peace, dignity, and independence after 50. If this speaks to you, leave a comment. I'm preparing for independence. 1. You can't count on anyone, and that's not bitterness. For many older men, there comes a hard realization. You cannot count on anyone consistently. It's not because friends or family don't care, it's because life happens. Children relocate for jobs. Friends age, fall ill, or pass away. Neighbors you once chatted with every morning may move or disappear into their private worlds. At first you may tell yourself it's temporary. They'll visit soon. They'll call next weekend. They're just busy this month. But slowly, patterns emerge. Holidays go unshared. Birthdays pass with only a text message. Your phone sits silent for days, then weeks. This isn't bitterness, it's awareness. No one owes us their time, not even those we love the most. And that truth is painful when you first face it, but liberating when you embrace it. It's easy to romanticize the idea that family will gather around you, that friends will keep your days full, that loneliness is something that happens only to other people. But the reality is simpler and harsher. Everyone has their struggles, distractions, and burdens. Even the most loving children have jobs, partners, kids, bills, and personal crises pulling them in every direction. So, what do you do with this truth? You stop waiting. You stop making your happiness dependent on who shows up, who calls, who remembers. You start creating your rituals. Your morning coffee becomes sacred time, not a prelude to company. Your weekend walk becomes a meditation, not a lonely stroll. You fill your days with your comforts, books you love, hobbies you choose, meals you enjoy whether or not there's someone to share them with. Freedom isn't just about having time. It's about being okay when that time is yours, and yours alone. True independence comes when you learn this. The calendar may stay empty, but your life doesn't have to feel empty, because freedom means being okay, even joyful, when no one shows up. 2. Financial blind spots destroy peace later. Many older men live for years, trusting that their spouse or partner handles the finances. And why not? For decades the system worked. One person managed the checkbook, the bills, the insurance paperwork, while the other focused on other roles. But then one day they're gone. A sudden death, an unexpected divorce, a partner who becomes too ill to explain where things are. Suddenly, questions flood in like a tide. Where is the life insurance policy? Where is the will stored? Which banks hold the accounts? Are the bills on autopay, or do they need immediate attention? Is there a pension plan? An IRA? A mortgage balance? This isn't just an inconvenience. This blind spot becomes a crisis. At exactly the moment when grief or shock consumes you, you're forced to navigate paperwork you never thought you'd have to touch. Confusion adds emotional weight to an already vulnerable time. This chaos is entirely avoidable, but only if you act before it's too late. The solution isn't paranoia. It's preparation. It means sitting down together while everything's calm and asking the awkward but essential questions. What accounts do we have? Where are the documents? How are bills paid? Do we have a safe deposit box? Who is listed as a beneficiary? It means keeping updated records not just for emergencies, but as a daily act of responsibility. Because peace in later years isn't just about health or companionship, it's about financial clarity. Knowing how the household runs financially is an act of self-care and self-respect. A man who knows where every dollar comes from, where it goes, and how to access it is a man prepared for life's unpredictability. And in the end, that preparation doesn't just protect your money, it protects your peace. 3. Loneliness doesn't feel like loneliness at first. At first, solitude can feel like freedom. You eat what you want, when you want. You sleep when you choose. There's no one interrupting your routines, no one questioning your habits. The house is quiet, but at first, that quiet feels peaceful. There's no drama, no tension, no obligations. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, that peace shifts. Days without conversation turn into weeks. You realize you haven't used your voice out loud, except perhaps to talk to yourself or maybe the dog. There's a strange moment when you realize that the television or the radio isn't entertainment anymore. It's become background noise just to simulate a human presence. What was once peaceful now feels like invisibility. And that's the subtle danger. Loneliness rarely announces itself with drama. It creeps in quietly through simple habits, a tendency to stop calling friends because they're probably busy, a reluctance to attend social events because it's easier to stay in, a shrinking of circles, a fading of invitations. The danger isn't being alone, it's becoming invisible. When no one knows your routines, when no one checks in, when no one expects you to show up, that's when solitude hardens into isolation. That's why older men living alone must protect their social life as carefully as they protect their physical health. It's a discipline, making phone calls, showing up to gatherings even when you don't feel like it, accepting invitations even when it's easier to decline. Being alone is fine. But feeling invisible? That's something entirely different and deeply damaging. Loneliness begins quietly, but its cost grows loud over time. A man who recognizes this early can take steps to stay connected, not because he's weak, but because he's wise. 4. Independence requires emotional preparation. Financial independence is just one part of aging alone. Emotional independence matters just as much, and perhaps more. It's one thing to have enough savings to live comfortably. It's another to manage the waves of loneliness, anxiety, uncertainty, and reflection that come with solitude. Can you comfort yourself when anxiety arises? Can you soothe your own restlessness on days when everything feels heavy? Can you entertain yourself when boredom creeps in without relying on distractions that numb rather than nourish? When you live alone, you become your own emotional caregiver. And this is where many older men get caught off guard. They prepare their finances meticulously. They plan for medical care and physical well-being. But they overlook the inner work, preparing their mind and heart for the quiet hours, the quiet days, the quiet seasons. This preparation isn't about forcing positivity or pretending to be unaffected. It's about building emotional resilience. That means developing routines that support your emotional health, taking daily walks to clear your mind, cultivating hobbies that spark curiosity and joy, reading books that nourish your thoughts, writing in a journal not for an audience, but for your own clarity. It also means learning to sit with difficult emotions without rushing to escape them, allowing yourself to grieve when needed, but knowing how to gently guide yourself back to balance. Older men who thrive alone often have rich inner lives. They know how to be present with themselves, how to reflect, how to seek beauty in small moments. A blooming flower, the sound of rain, the warmth of morning sunlight on their face. They don't rely on external validation. They don't wait for others to regulate their moods. They build their own peace quietly, intentionally, and daily. Because true independence isn't just about standing alone financially. It's about standing alone emotionally with grace, clarity, and self-compassion. Note 5. Kids may love you but have their own lives. Your children may love you deeply. They may say the right words, send warm birthday cards, and genuinely care about your well-being. But they are not and cannot be your retirement plan. It's a difficult truth for many older men to accept, that the same children you raised, sacrificed for, and devoted your life to are now pulled in 1,000 different directions: jobs, marriages, mortgages, divorces, their own parenting struggles. Even the most well-meaning children can become distant, not out of malice or neglect, but simply because life is heavy for them too. Sometimes they intend to call but forget. They plan to visit but something comes up. A sick child, a work emergency, a financial strain. This isn't rejection, it's reality. It's easy to fall into the trap of expectation. They should visit every week. They should check in more often. They should appreciate all I've done. But this kind of thinking leads only to quiet resentment, a slow bitterness that corrodes your peace. That's why a man who lives alone must not depend emotionally or practically on his children to fill his days or validate his worth. If they visit, wonderful. Enjoy it fully. Be grateful. But if they don't, life must go on full, rich, and meaningful anyway. This is where emotional independence blends with wisdom, learning to love your children without making them the center of your emotional life. Because children grow up, they move on, And one day they may be grappling with exactly what you're facing now. By choosing to build a life that doesn't revolve around your children's availability, you free yourself, and you free them too. You model true independence. You show them that a man can live alone, and live well with dignity, balance, and grace. 6. Older divorce happens more than you think. Divorce isn't just for the young. Many men and women in their 50s, 60s, even 70s face unexpected divorce, often blindsided after decades of what they thought was a stable relationship. A partner changes. Priorities shift. The weight of decades together sometimes reveals cracks that no one noticed when they were too busy raising children, building careers, paying bills. Sometimes it's infidelity. Sometimes it's simply emotional drift. Two people who wake up one day and realize they no longer know how to speak to each other. A woman in her 60s might discover that her husband is leaving after 40 years of shared memories for someone new, someone younger, someone who makes him feel different. The shock is profound. It's not just the loss of a partner, it's the collapse of an entire life narrative. The future they planned, the routines they shared, the emotional anchor that once felt unshakable. For men, this reality can be even harder to grasp. They may have thought the relationship was fine, steady, perhaps boring, but safe. Then suddenly, they find themselves alone, disoriented, unprepared, emotionally, financially, practically. Older men must recognize this simple but uncomfortable truth. Long-term relationships can still end. The length of time together is no guarantee of permanence. And understanding this isn't about becoming cynical or distrustful, it's about preparation. Being emotionally and practically ready to stand alone if necessary isn't pessimism. It's self-respect. It's making sure that your peace doesn't depend entirely on another person's presence or promises, because even the strongest marriages can encounter turbulence late in life, and when that happens, the man who prepared will suffer less, recover faster, and regain his balance sooner. This isn't fear. This is wisdom earned through observation, experience, and a clear-eyed understanding of how life can shift, even when you thought you were safe. 7. Planning isn't paranoia. Some men avoid making contingency plans because it feels negative. They tell themselves, "I don't want to jinx this happiness. Why think about worst-case scenarios when life is good right now?" But planning isn't negativity, it's kindness to your future self. It's about recognizing that even the most peaceful present can change in an instant. Illness, accident, loss, or simply the gradual decline that comes with aging. Knowing where your money is, all of it matters. Not just one bank account, but every asset, every liability. Have your legal documents updated. Wills, powers of attorney, medical directives. Know who to call for help. Not just family or friends, but professionals who can step in when needed. A trusted attorney, an accountant, even a neighbor who has proven reliable. Have a plan B for your living situation. Where would you move if you could no longer maintain your current home? Would you downsize? Relocate? Seek assisted living? What would you do if driving became unsafe or too stressful? Have a plan for medical care. What insurance coverage do you truly have? Who would advocate for you if you were unable to speak for yourself? This isn't about expecting the worst. It's about refusing to be caught off guard. Too many older men discover too late that avoidance feels good in the short term, but devastating when life suddenly demands answers. Aging well means living realistically with eyes open, options clear, and documents ready. In truth, planning isn't fear. It's freedom. Because when you know that everything has been thought through, prepared for, and written down, you can relax more deeply into the present. That peace of mind, the kind that no amount of denial can give you, is a gift only preparation can offer. Growing older alone isn't failure. It's reality for many men. But reality doesn't have to feel bleak. It can feel clear. It can feel strong. It can feel free. If you take the time now to prepare financially, emotionally, practically, living alone as you age can be dignified and peaceful. You learn to become your own companion, your own leader, your own caretaker. And in doing so, you stop waiting for others to show up. You start showing up fully for yourself. That is the truth about aging alone. It's not loneliness unless you let it be. It's peace, clarity, and freedom when you're ready. If this speaks to you, share your thoughts in the comments. I'm preparing for independence. Because preparation isn't fear. Preparation is love for yourself.